Ed Zahn calling the action, Universal Independent Wrestling. You know, Ed, this is so exciting. It's not every day that the people get to witness the birth of a new promotion.
The whole purpose here, from what I've been told, and I'm glad to be part of this organization, is UIW is here to give these people exposure, and give them a chance.
Exactly.
And I think it's something these fans are really excited about. They're really looking forward to getting a chance to see a lot of fresh new faces in professional wrestling. These are your stars of tomorrow.
Exactly.
These are the fresh young lions of professional wrestling.
This is so exciting, the birth of a new promotion right here, Universal Independent Wrestling.
When you look at a timeline of a specific thing, in this case pro wrestling in the indie promotions in the mid-Atlantic, you can pinpoint a very specific time and place that it became the launching pad and reason for everything that preceded it. So why the UIW? In the most rudimentary terms, it ignited the spark of fan interest using hard-boiled stories, compelling situations, and believable characters. The UIW had it right on so many levels. Their opening credits gave an international flavor using their top characters with patriotic flag wipes, laid the ground for who the top people were, planted seeds for storyline, and in a brilliant move, knowing not all indie talent was up to par, they used a cut and trim technique on below-grade matches to create a fill called Monster Minutes. The broadcast team did a brilliant job on reporting the action and keeping you invested. For production, the team did an excellent job pushing upcoming shows and angles, handed it special appearances, and got the fans ready for the upcoming weeks using hyped commercials. They also treated fans to keepsakes like souvenir programs, fan pictures, official videotapes, and tons of marketing.
Hey, you, sitting there watching this pro wrestling show, did you ever wonder how guys like Kirk Dredd, the War Pig, Axel Rotten, and the other UIW stars got into wrestling? Here's your answer. They attended the Pro Wrestling Training Center in Hanover, Pennsylvania. This facility can make you the next UIW star. Call the owner, Phil Livelsberger, at 717 and get started in your new exciting career. Stop watching and be watched. Join the Pro Wrestling Training Center now.
We've already established some of the stars in UIW in part 1. Keep in mind that the UIW board started off fresh and there were no incumbent champions. So the landscape had the stars vying for rankings in both the heavyweight and tag team scenes. So let's take a look at some of those storylines that were developed through interceding feuds. Steve Valentino was the partner of Ricky Blues in the Chicago Hitmen, and the original concept after ASWA, or Atlantic States Wrestling Association, ended was to break them up in the UIW and run a feud between them. But fate interceded and Blues broke his leg in a house show against AJ Fritzoid between the first and second TV tapings. By the time of the second taping, they needed a substitute for the feud, and Kirk Dredd was pushed into the angle. It's not that their first match was hot or provided something more for the fans to gravitate to, but the AWF was pushing Dredd, the UIW wanted to push Steve Valentino, so they were put together hoping that chemistry would come about.
The women, Sexy Steve missed the drop kick by about a foot.
I'm telling you, that has to hurt. And if you look at the chest of these two men right now, you can tell those slaps across the chest hurt too, because they're both red.
Won't be shaking his cheeks after that one as Kirk Dredd. No, reversal by Sexy Steve. Flying shoulder block, Kirk Dredd caught him.
The bounty hunter, Max Strasher, the AWF heavyweight champion in Pennsylvania, ran a nice little story as their lead antagonist for the ASWA heavyweight champion, AJ Fritzoid. But the UIW board had their sights set on newcomer Golden Phoenix, who was working for Larry Sharp's WWA in New Jersey, to step in the role of lead babyface for the UIW. Ergo, AJ Fritzoid was removed to another feud, and in stepped Golden Phoenix. Their story had everything from upset victories, hanging with a noose, a plastic bag choking, hair versus career, lumberjacks, and plenty of blood, sweat, and anguish, all to draw the fans in to what would eventually become the hottest feud in the UIW. The British Blight, Axel Rotten, and the Wild Thing, AJ Fritzoid, had so many solid matches for all the incarnations of promotions prior to the UIW. So it was only natural to establish this for TV and run a feud between the two. AJ not only had incredible in-ring ability, but his microphone skills were exceptional, and the feud jumped off the screen.
Wild Thing, AJ Fritzoid finally giving Axel Rotten a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah! Baby, this way!
I got to say to you, Axel. Wherever you be, I don't care where it might be, the wild thing gonna be right there on your big fat behind, boy. So let me tell you something. Tonight when you go home, you make one of them greasy sub sandwiches, baby. Then you open up your refrigerator and the wild thing gonna pop right out. And I'm gonna pop right up against your fat head. Woo!
The UIW board wanted to continue building levels of feuds and wanted to expand into the light heavyweight scene. That was the burgeoning scene, and it was making a big push, not only in Maryland, but the independents throughout the Mid-Atlantic. So they had Ricky Blues adopt the persona of Watsumi, the Rising Sun, to showcase his high-flying skills, and wanted to use a polar opposite to augment the feud. So from the Ed Hall character that was running on UIW TV, exotic Adrian Hall was born for visual effect, and they were off and running in a feud.
Watsumi, I've had it up to here with you. Well, actually, I've had it up to here with you. And let me tell you something, you slanty-eyed reject from a kung fu theater movie. I'm going to take that mask off of you, I'm going to primp you up a little bit, and when we get in the ring, the rising sun is going to set for the last time on your career. But don't worry, I'll give you a kiss before dying.
Neil the Power Superior came from the NWL, National Wrestling League, as their heavyweight champion, and the UIW board wanted to establish him as a contender in the UIW championship scene. But they wanted to take advantage of pairing his look and his size with a newcomer to wrestling, with an equal look and size, but a much more mysterious background. Enter Rasta the Voodoo Man, or Lester Spate. Now, Rasta only stayed in the UIW and win for about 2 years before heading to Hollywood, where he would later become a star of big screen movies like Norbit. For Neil Superior, fate cut his wrestling career short.
There's the voodoo vice. He's got the voodoo vice locked into the corner. He's going to have to break it, though. They're on the ropes. He's going to have to.
The ref's trying to break
Howard,
it.
I can't believe it.
And a knee to the stomach. He shoves the ref.
So you believe you know what goes on inside the world of professional wrestling. It's time to learn the truth. To Kill the Town is the newest novel by W.P. Blake, and it gives you the real inside story. Forget the books that give you one side of the story. This one delivers the real journey of the last 2 decades in the Mid-Atlantic. Kevin Eck, ring post in the Baltimore Sun, says, a meticulously researched chronicle that takes the readers behind the curtain and pulls no punches. Formative and gripping. Former WWF superstar Dwayne Gilbert Gill says, an incredible story, gritty and true. A must-read for every wrestling fan. Mike Johnson of PWInsider.com says, greatly enjoyable. I really wish more books were like this. An incredible look at a unique slice of the wrestling universe. Pick it up at Amazon.com, Barnes & Nobles, and any of your local bookstores.
The tag team scene was equally populated with great feuds and intertwined dynamics. Now, for my money, the Cream Team was the team that I always looked at as centric to any feud through the Mid-Atlantic Indies. Johnny Lawler, who resembled iconic Southern star Jerry Lawler, was a green newcomer, so they paired him with the Cajun brawler Bubba Monroe for legitimate mentoring. Bubba was the son of NWA star Sputnik Monroe and had vast experience. So they put them together, called them Dixie Devastation, and ran a feud with hometown favorites Pain and Agony, the Lords of Darkness. Many of our fans didn't know that Pain and Agony, the Lords of Darkness, were in actuality Barry Hardy and Dwayne Gill. Barry Hardy and Dwayne Gill both had WWF careers for a period of time as talent enhancement, and of course, Dwayne went on to become Gilbert, the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. Now, Barry and Dwayne were 3-time WWA Tag Team Champions, ASWA Tag Champs, so it was natural to place them in running for the soon-developing UIW Tag Team title picture.
Give me that microphone. Let me tell you what. I'm not worried about the Dream Team. I'm not worried about the Lords of Darkness and the Hell. What you talking about, the Hell? What?
The Hellhounds.
There ain't no more hell than what I can raise.
Just from above.
Wait a minute.
Home.
Wait a minute.
That's
Cajun
the wrong
Brawler.
man in the ring.
He's not the legal man. He got the pinfall.
For Morgus the Maniac's entrance, he was brought to the ring in a straitjacket by the surgeon, so it was natural to pair those two together. Two unforgettable characters to see. In later promotions, Morgus was taken to the ring by two attending nurses, his mom and his dad. Surgeons sort of faded from the picture after the first year. Their opponents were a combination of fan favorites, longtime Maryland star Sledgehammer McGill and the nimble and silvery-tongued Mr. Bojangles. Now, UIW wasn't sure how they wanted to use Sledge and Bo as singles, so they brought them together as a team and fans really endeared to them.
They're both a double choke. We got to get some help out here. Here comes Mr.
Oh,
Bojangles.
there he is. There he
Here
is.
comes Mr. Bojangles, Sledgehammer's tag team partner and friend. Going to work on Morgus the Maniac.
He's got Morgus reeling.
The Cream Team arrived on the UIW scene in the second round of TV tapings because they honored their VWA commitments against the Rock and Roll Express and weren't available. But they were undoubtedly the predominant tag team in the area. So when they arrived, they were rudely introduced to the newly regenerated Dixie Devastation with members Johnny Stonewall Lawler and Gentleman Jeff Collette. Bubba Monroe was out. This was a good feud for a number of reasons. First, there was real heat between a couple of the personalities. Second, Jeff Collette was familiar with the Cream Team from numerous encounters against them in the VWA. There, he paired with partner Sweet Stan Lane and manager Jim Cornette and had numerous feuds with the Cream Team. The feud between Dixie Devastation and the Cream Team culminated in a bloody match in Pennsylvania between Johnny Lawler and Diamond Dave Casanova.
And now he's looks like he's going to perhaps use it as a weapon. Took the belt right off of the timekeeper.
I don't know what he's.
Oh, he's whipping Rip Sawyer with it.
I can barely see Diamond Dave.
Like a father admonishing his little kid. That's it, disqualify him. This is
and he hits Diamond Dave.
He got Diamond Dave. Oh, clotheslined him with it. That's a leather belt. Oh, and no, this is humiliating. This is humiliating. Laying that Confederate flag right over Rip Sawyer.
The tag team scene was really exploding, and a lot of care by the UIW board went into making sure that it was presented to the fans in a light that was just as important as the singles scene. So they weaved some of the singles feuds into tag team feuds to explore more dynamics and open the possibility of developing a stable for managers like Sonny Steele and Kevin Casey. This feud helped fuse together Kevin Casey's stable of Chaos Incorporated and had so many moving parts. During this feud, a lot of changes happened over the weeks. Steve Valentino legitimately got a fractured skull in a bout against Kirk Dredd, which put him on the shelf for 3 months. AJ had an impromptu heel change with nothing more than an interview turn.
Unless you got a good reason.
And ended up feuding with Kirk over some stiff shots in a match in Steeltown. And Axel seemed to start enjoying fans' cheers. Needless to say, it was a pairing of 4 men to get across the point of the interchangeable and moving parts that the UIW wanted to show that they had versatility.
I don't care who I have to beat up. I don't care if it's Sexy Steve Valentino, Bad Thing AJ Fritzoid, Max Thrasher the Bounty Hunter. I don't care if it's Killer Hit Kirk Dredd. As long as you can keep the checks coming, as long as you can keep paying me, I'm with Chaos, and that's all I have to say.
First and foremost, the UIW deserves a great deal of credit as a pioneer, especially in Maryland. It was the first professional wrestling program since the 1960s, outside of the NWA and the WWF, to air on the traditional local television channel. Remember, this is the time before the cable guys ruled the airwaves, and local programs like the Ghost Host Theater and Captain Chesapeake on WBFF TV 45 in Maryland, that was very much in vogue. So the UIW broke that barrier, and the program inspired people to not only attend the TV tapings, but get involved in the wrestling world. But the thing that's most important is what you're going to see if you have a keen eye and a sharp mind. That is, once you're able to peruse the audience, you're going to be able to see future indie wrestling luminaries in attendance as part of the audience. Rich Myers, future wrestler and MCW Hall of Famer. Dennis Whiprick and Tim Burke, future owners, promoters, and bookers, Barry Casino, manager in the MEWF, ECWA, and PCW. Jeff Amder, MEWF timekeeper and archivalist for every Maryland promotion. And there was a handful of UIW staff members you may have seen that went on to have significant contributions to the indies. Brian Holtex, he was a staff member for every Maryland promotion. Jeff Capo, future WIN executive and NWA referee. Andy Weinberg, future executive for ECW. So it's easy to demonstrate just how influential the UIW was to the growing indie scene in the Mid-Atlantics. We showed you the infamous Lumberjack match between Max Thrasher and Golden Phoenix. That match etched their rivalry in blood, and it was fantastic. For UIW TV, that feud ran over the course of 15 weeks. It was tremendous, but the fans were robbed of a conclusion. The logical end was to have them face off for the ultimate prize, the UIW title, during the final stand, the Build UIW Heavyweight Tournament. But in week 16 of TV, before that could happen, the Phoenix and Thrasher saga ended unceremoniously.
It's hard for me to be unbiased here, I guess.
He says he's the UIW champion.
Well, that tournament will be coming up in the weeks to come, and Max Thrasher will definitely be one of the top seeds.
Inexplicably, Thrasher turned face by beating up Kevin Casey. In that instant, the fire of the hottest feud was snuffed. Sure, Phoenix won the title over Warpig, but it paled in comparison to what should have been. Those 21 consecutive weeks of UIW TV are the cornerstone in the history of the Mid-Atlantic independents that all others are measured by. Now, every promotion that followed, every star that came into Maryland to work or left Maryland to work at another promotion has traveled on the road paved by the UIW TV effort. And to us at PIN, that supports our selection for UIW TV as the seminal moment in the Mid-Atlantic Indies history. For PIN, I'm your host, Ricky Blues, reminding you to join us again next week as we brave another stroll down Concussion Lane to bring you a pioneer of the independent networks.